One of the easiest classes to play but hardest to make interesting is a fighter class. The way they are often described is strong but not the smartest. The worst for this is actually the barbarian class, which is a walking stereotype, and I have never seen or been in a game with a barbarian who hasn't been the strong but dense type. Fighters a lot of the time run a close second. They seem to be handicapped by this. Sometimes after spending your best rolls on strength and con, there isn't much left for intelligence. And if you didn't roll great to begin with, if it's a bought stat system like Star Wars, you still need to spend points on your core stats. So it creates a bit of a problem typically. But one thing I love about this system is it encourages you to try new things. You can take a character who isn't physically strong, who has found themselves in the hired gun profession by accident or design, but you can also experiment with them with different stat combinations. An average strength but higher agility is an example. But as always, and especially in this game, it's not the stats that lead to a great game. It's the character itself. How did he become a hired gun? How does his stats reflect in the narrative? That's the nexus of this game. The core gives you mercenary, marauder, and bodyguard. This gives an all-rounder, a melee fighter, and a warfare expert. The new book adds heavy weapons expert, enforcer, and explosive expert. That's 6 specializations to pick from. Once you have chosen your class, that's where the work really begins. So what does this book do to fix the problem of making strong fighters easy, but interesting ones hard? Well, in the end, making an interesting character is ultimately up to the players. But this book is an interesting read and can give you some ideas you might not have considered. Dangerous Covenants begins with a discussion of combat in both Star Wars and the Outer Rim. That includes holdovers from the Clone Wars, security work, general hired muscle, recovery, mercenary work, bodyguards, and assassination. One thing that's interesting about Edge of the Empire is it does encourage people to move across what is sometimes considered pre-existing boundaries. Things like assassinations are sometimes feeling only in the realm of the assassin class, but assassination is an act, though of course someone who specializes in it can be considered an assassin. It's an unsavory job, but any of the hired guns could do it, from a sniper shot, up close, or the explosion expert with a bomb. It's a small thing, but sometimes small things start an idea that lead to a big thing, and that's where cool characters can come from. The backgrounds are an excellent place to give ideas on how to start a hired gun character, covering larger concepts like yesterday's hero, and incorporating ideas for each of the specializations under it. Others include the Scion of Legacy, the Avenger, and Peace turned to War. The fact that it covers not just the overall idea, but how it relates to each of the specializations makes it a good starting point. Players might not use what's there, but I would be surprised if it hasn't sparked some ideas they can use. It includes an obligation table designed for hired guns. It's a small thing, but it's useful. There are 3 new races, the Aqualish, Klituian, and one of my favourites, the Weequay. Clone Wars did much to elevate this race into something deeper and interesting. There are also some new talents, motivations, and signature abilities. There is a selection of new gear. This section is often the weakest in the books, but still not bad. My biggest complaint is that there is not enough images for all the items. In some cases, there are, but there is some cool sounding gear that no one has any idea what it looks like. A Google search can find some of it, but it's still a shortfall to me, even a small one. There is new weapons, attachments, general gear a hired gun might use, medical, explosives, survival, tools, modifying starships, speeders, and starships. It's the starships especially that I wish there were more pictures of. The ones that are pictured are also not notarized, so it's not always clear which one it is. The book also features a picture of a shovel, but not all the starships. The section on integrating hired guns into the campaign is a very cool part of the book. It discusses working for an organization, working alone, payments, and what if they are working for a criminal. How that can affect things. How to handle combat encounters. A handful of missions. They are cool, I guess, but I think the space would have been better used for more character ideas or GM aid. But overall, it's a solid book with lots of new kit, some good ideas, and the art is beautiful. Please tell me that was good.